for me, when the virus first showed up in the media, I was interested in how it was all going to play out and how it was going to affect my business. And because I'm in the fashion business, when I saw all the people in China wearing N95s, I thought, what can I do that replaces that with fashion? And so it just started out kind of designing stuff in the tailor shop as to what could I sell right now that made sense to the general public. And that was face masks, right? Yeah. And so I stumbled into it with hopes to provide that to my customers and to my employees. And so my reaction to the virus was to give the general public access to something that I knew there was going to be a need for. Right. And that happened to be face masks.
Right. Which we're happy that we have some of those. They're phenomenal.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and if we talk about fear, or if we talk about access, or if we talk about civic duty, having a socially conscious environment, a social environment that businesses are, retailers are, you form relationships with your clients. And so the biggest thing is saying, hey, what do they need? What are their needs? What are their needs going to be? Because building image or selling image also has to do with what's happening in the inside. And so if you know that you're going to be closed down, or they won't have access to a lot of the goods and services that they did, how do we make that business still work, right, and still have them feel comfortable? Right. And what my response was to have those consumers feel comfortable was social distancing, how we handle a daily operation when it's called retail. There's no such thing as browsing anymore, so it's by appointment. I set up private cubicles in the store, right, so that they felt safe in a smaller environment on a one-on-one, wearing a mask. And so everybody wears a mask, we sanitize our hands, we put signs up. I think we're reacting the same as maybe how Dave reacted in his retail store too. It's about messaging and then making the environment safe and accessible.
Right on.
And I'm going to ask you a question off of that, Anthony. So there's been some controversy around masks and just how they make people feel. And you brought up a really good point, that you wanted to provide a product, which is what you do in your business, that makes people feel good on the inside and
right,
appear, well on the outside. Yeah. So how did you find the material that you did, yeah, for your masks? I mean, I know you did some research on that, right, to provide the highest quality masks that you could. And how did you go about that research?
I was lucky enough to have contacts with various mills throughout the country, both internationally and in the United States, that were providing us with material already. A non-woven material, a lot like the N95 material that we're seeing masks made out of, I had access to through a company that was selling us bag liners. It's the same material, it's the same weight, it's the same non-woven fabric. So I just started buying that fabric, okay, and saying, okay, let's make a nice mask out of silk, 3-layer mask out of silk, and let's use that N95 as a layer in between, and make it so it's inconspicuous and discerning at the same time. So I made it into a pocket square concept that a gentleman could wear into a board meeting and not feel weird because his mask is right here, right? It looks like a pocket square. But when you pull it out and put it on your face, because you just called in 15 other people into the boardroom, right, I'm going to put my mask on to protect myself, but I'm not going to feel self-conscious, right, or intimidating wearing an N95 look, yeah, where this could be more personality-driven.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's just a way to break down those social cultural barriers that fashion is anyway, and we're constantly seeing fashion define who we are, right, both inside and outside of work. So it's just a way of saying, hey, it's a simple little product that if you decide to protect yourself, we're going to make it fashionable, and you're going to have access to it.
Very clever. Yeah. I like that.
And, we talked 2 months ago. that would have been a great Saturday Night Live skit.
Sure.
You know, pull out your mask and put it
Right.
on your face, and now it's like this sort of new reality where a gentleman can pull out
The
his
first-
pocket square,
Right.
put on a face mask,
Yeah.
mask
Right.
and arguably protect himself.
Well, the first
Right.
video
Or herself.
that I shot was just a lark. And you're right, it was just like me being political in a way, saying, hey, look, you can be fashionable too. But, you know,
But now you're setting a new fashion trend.
yeah, well, I think, you know, it's funny that
Or an old new.
Polo Ralph Lauren, Tommy Hilfiger, Brooks Brothers, they're all doing mask tie combination concepts.
Okay.
I'm a suit maker. I'm a retailer. My goal is to get past this fashion trend protector and get back to doing business as normal. It's been a great way for consciously to let my employees do something that massages their brain, that they can be there every day, be safe, making something and supporting our Jaime's culture, but also the culture outside of our store. So it's just a mechanism right now to be able to stay in business, keep people healthy in their minds, give their hands something active to do, and then give the general public access to the resources they are being denied, right?
You solved a lot of problems in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, both internally in your company
Sure.
and then
Yeah.
externally for your customers.
Yeah.
So it's a win-win for everybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah. For myself, when all of this started to happen, I quickly started to realize that this was going to impact us in really profound ways on so many different levels related to us as a individual and then as a community and then on a global scale. Given my background in medicine, I initially thought, what can we do from our platform to try and give to individuals that's going to meet a need around health and wellness. And so we tried to provide a free experience, knowing that the healthcare crisis was quickly turning into an economic crisis. And in that, as Jamie and I were talking, we just said, hey, let's see if we can do a little bit of good in this, and we'll give people the option, if they're able to make a donation. And very quickly humbled by how many people, whether it was $5 or $100, chose to click that box and make a donation. And that kind of catapulted this energy within myself to, and it's always been a resonating philosophy for me as a leader to say, what can we do versus what are we unable to do? I'm very much a half glass full person, and I want to look at what we're focused on, what we can achieve, where we can go, what we can do. And in this situation, honestly, I think we're still in this space, we can rise together or we can fall together. And I looked at the donations that started to come in and what we could do with those as a way to connect with other fellow like-minded leaders and say, how can we lift our community up? And there's so many needs in the community right now, but given that I've been close to the front lines of healthcare, I could quickly see that this was going to become an issue for them for many reasons, as we're seeing unfold. And if we can do something for them during this time, it would be a way to make a big impact. I mean, quite frankly, the healthcare profession has been struggling with a lot of these issues we're seeing heightened now. So burnout, fatigue, compassion fatigue, looking at divides between frontline healthcare workers and administration, and even signs and symptoms of PTSD in our clinicians. That was here before COVID was, and now COVID has just brought, kind of a new awareness to it, and it's kind of certainly made it more prevalent and more critical that we start to address these issues. So this is one way that we can serve our frontline healthcare providers, because they're kind of our soldiers in this right now. I mean, wherever this goes, they have to get up every morning and they have to go to work and they have to face this closer than most of us ever will. And I feel like any individual who does that deserves some kindness, some compassion, and some kudos.
Your vision is awesome, and I think Anthony and I both agree that we're just proud to be a part of what your vision was to share some smiles and some practical things like meals en masse to the hospital workers, and we've seen the reaction, right? The reaction was on the front of the paper today and shown on the nurses and doctors that really appreciate that, so that's awesome.
As a community, what can we do? Well, connect with like-minded individuals who philosophically align with you. And for me, that's what can we do mentality. And Dave and Anthony are that. You know, you're taking a leadership role in your community and serving in a way that resonates with your businesses and other leaders in your, respective communities. And I think it's important that we all realize in this that there are things we can do. So don't get stuck on the things you can't do. They're there, they have to be acknowledged, but don't get stuck in them. Start to move yourself forward with the people you can, and start to move yourself forward with the things that you can do. And giving back is one of the easiest things that you can do in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I think capitalism is a saving grace, because we've been programmed to be consumers, and in order for people to, in order to be flexible, you need to be able to either have a place you can go and drink wine and socialize, to relax and to enjoy other people, or you come to a retailer to shop and buy things that are a want, need, and desire. But what's great about the ability to make money is we can create resources. And either it's food resources, or it's mask resources, or it's wine resources, or whatever it might be. I think it's wonderful right now to be a capitalist, because we can raise the money, supply the resources to people who need it.
Yes.
And that's an effective tool. And whether it be online, retooling your online presence, selling stuff online, whether it's rethinking your business model and how your floor plan works when people come back, whether it's a person sitting at home who are just as courageous sitting at home as the people that are the outdoers, people out doing. They're trying to recreate or reinvent themselves at home too.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of courage and a lot of support, because there's not a lot of people who have the opportunity to become entrepreneurs. So there might be more small business created out of this thing than we ever thought. So there's a positive side to this, a self-reflectiveness that takes place when you're at home. Your family dynamic changes, who you are as a person, the books you read, the videos you watch, the people you interact with. Those are all things that are going to get us through this.
Well, and we're talking about a mindset, right?
Yeah.
And an actionable mindset.
Right, yeah.
And anyone can do what we've done together.
Yeah.
They can, and it doesn't have to be buying meals en masse and delivering them to their hospitals. It could be something as simple as going to a nursing home and showing a sign made by your teenage kids that we're here for you, we support you. And I mean, how blessed are we to have these frontline healthcare workers, right now. They're doing amazing work, and things are stressed. We just tried to brighten up the day a little bit with meals en masse, but anyone can do what we did. It doesn't have to be meals en masse. It's the mindset that, hey, no, we're not going to be completely in the scarcity sort of mode.
Yeah.
Things are crazy, and people are hurting economically and health-wise, but there are these little opportunities, and a 12-year-old kid can do it.
Yes.
A 12-year-old kid can blow some bubbles and put a smile on somebody's face. And that's really what we're doing, right?
Yeah, 100%. It's really, you're right. It's not even about, the material things that we're bringing. It's about the intention behind them. And I love what you pointed out. It's a mindset of, we can be, a scarcity mindset, or we can be an abundance mindset. And we have control over that. We have control over which mindset we choose. And that's why I'm so grateful for both of you, because you've chosen a mindset and you've done something with it. And with your customers, what I see and your communities, is you've allowed this abnormal time to feel more normal.
Sure.
Right? So you're providing to your customers in a way they're like, okay, I still have that. That's a comfort for me. I can seek solace in that. And same with you. I mean, I can say for myself, the current restaurant is one of my favorite restaurants to go to. And when everything was shutting down, and you stayed open at least to the point where we could come and get the food that we're, accustomed to enjoying and experiencing as a family, it allowed things to feel normal in an abnormal time. So that's where I see. A bottle
of wine doesn't hurt either, too.
And then you throw in that healthy bottle of wine, and I'm all in.
Right.
So, no, but it's true. I mean, you could have chosen a number of different mindsets and paths, but both of you said, what can I do with this? How can I serve my community? How can I serve others?
Yeah, and I got all involved with this because of your vision, right? And happened to know Anthony through our wine club, happened to know our friend Zachary from Love Your Melon, and it was amazing. Things just kind of started to come together from what you had seen and saw and wanted to do, and it's a pleasure to be a part of it, Krista. And, I guess I represent our hospitality sector, and I've had a lot of involvement on the Minnesota restaurant side of things for quite some time. And our industry people are hurting so bad. Like it's arguably a, pandemic health crisis and also an economic crisis.
Yeah, absolutely.
An economic war, arguably. And our restaurant industry, 300,000 jobs, 10% of the workforce in the state of Minnesota, and we've just been crushed, right? But even these operators, they can do some things, right? Together, if we come together, we can do some things and we can make a difference. And hospitality, when you boil it down, it's a 5-syllable word, and it means be nice. That's all it means.
Well,
that's all we have to do, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think a society that eats together stays together, and when we're apart and we can't eat together, we're still finding ways to eat together and drink wine. Maybe it's barbecuing, maybe it's your small social bubble, but the desire to be outside, sitting on a day like this down at the Current on the patio, watching people get off their boats, those are the memories, those are the emotional parts that we're missing. And so how do you package that? How do you repackage that product, that emotional product, online or in some other physical form? That's been the hardest part about even clothing. It's like I can send you clothes via UPS or mail. But what people really want is the environment. They want the connection in the environment, the senses, all the senses working, right? And so I'm still thinking my way through that, problem solving that process, right? How do I create Jaimes online, and you still get a sense of being there? That's a tough one, and it is an economic problem.
It is.
It's luckily enough, we've got a federal government now that we have federally backed banks. So I don't think we're going to see big failures like we saw during the first pandemic of 1918 or the depression of the 1930s, right? Because we've got banks that are backed. They say they're not going to fail. They're supplying loans to small businesses to help them out. Some forgivable, some not. Some businesses have access to them. Some businesses don't have access to them. So it's in a short amount of time, we're talking 8 weeks, we've managed to save some small businesses. We've managed to create new product and new outlets for our consumers. And we're trying to survive in an economy that was typically really focused on self, right? Really self. It's about what can I buy, what can I get, what can I have. That consumerism does not go away very fast. It takes a long time to retrain a society that has access to everything, now has access to less. And so I think it's a great reboot. It's a great way to look at health and fitness. It's a great way to look at eating food and breaking bread with people. It's a great way to look at clothing. What do I have? What do I need? Yeah. Right? And it's a great way to look at people that are supporting the sick, who are struggling too. So we're all in the same boat. We're just taking a different directive, from we're responding to our customers.
Yeah.
Whether it's a patient on a bed, whether it's a couple who wants to have a drink of wine together and break bread, or somebody who wants to be clothed. We're all reacting to our consumers.
Right. And we're all pulling together to do it.
Yeah.
I think that's the most beautiful part of
Yeah.
it, right? Is, you could say retail is quite separate, say, from health and wellness or medical, and you could say hospitality is, separate from again medical or health and wellness, but they're not.
It's not.
Right? At
No.
the end of the day, they're just not.
It's all interconnected.
We are all far more alike
Yep.
than we are unalike.
Absolutely.
And this has kind of ripped off that Band-Aid to expose that part of ourselves. I mean, that we have to be connected. We have to lift our heads up from our phones and pay attention to one another and look at one another and say, what can we do to support each other during this time? Because we won't survive this without each other, is the greatest message I see in that. And I feel incredibly fortunate to have partners who so quickly kind of have that yes we can mentality and say, yep, we can make a difference, yep, we can do something. And Anthony, so quickly you're like, yep, I can make and I can donate masks. Zach, yep, I can donate a ton of masks. Chuck's like, yep, I will match those donations. Dave, you're like, yep, we're gonna get those meals made and we'll deliver them wherever they need to go. There's all these yeses, right? During this time where we're feeling a lot of no's, there are people creating a lot of yes we can drive.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's true, and again, it's the soccer mom that can do something like this.
Yeah.
It's a teacher. It's a parent. It's a teenage kid. It's a grandparent. Anyone can do what we're doing, and this is just us coming together. My restaurant friends, and I'm certainly not immune. We're legitimately concerned about, okay, are the doors going to be open in a month?
Yeah.
Are they going to be open in 2 months?
Right.
And amidst all that worry and doubt and uncertainty, you're seeing our restaurant community come together right now. I'm talking to operators, and they want to help. They want to help others. They understand the fundamental definition of hospitality is bringing people together and helping others and being nice and serving, right? And I think that's kind of at the end of the day all that we're really trying to do here, right? So I think you're going to see our restaurant community come together too to help others, but it doesn't matter which segment or industry or sector or group of people.
There might be a point of no return, though. I'll be honest with you. It's not all optimism for me. There's a lot of things that I struggle with internally as a business owner and as a creator and as a designer and as an entrepreneur constantly. Because there is a point of no return in which if this economy does not get engaged, money runs out and food runs out, right? And resources run out. I have to be realistic that that's part of my risk analysis when I'm looking at my business strategy, is that what happens to me, to my family, and to my store, to my employees, if this all doesn't resolve its way out. And that's what I deal with. And so by having a support mechanism of other like-minded entrepreneurs and civic leaders and professionals, it really helps me to hear your story. That gives me a sense of guidance and hope to hear your story and to be participating in what your story is too. Because it's not all smoke and mirrors. Right. The reality is that the real reality of life, the harsh reality of life is the physical world that we live in, is the non-forgiving part of the world. And that's a harsh world. So we need to get our acts together quick. We need to continue to be aggressive about what it is, what our intentions are, and put it out there fast, and not sit back and wait for other people to do that for us. And that's what I would encourage other people to do at home. Write a dang business plan. If you lost your job, if you're furloughed, go sit down and take a piece of paper and write down 10 things that manifest your own self-destiny. You have to manifest yourself. Don't wait for it all to be activated on March 18th, because March 18th might not even be the magic date. So dig deep now, look at yourself now, And don't wait for other people to do that for you,
Yeah.
right? Because it's easy to have a month and a half off. But when you're talking a whole life of planning, you can't, 8 weeks is nothing. So you gotta do it now. You can't wait. I would say that to my employees.
Right.
Don't wait for me to fix things. I'll help you. I'll give you resources as much as I can. But when you have this time, I'm under the impression that, yeah, it's great to get your deck done. Yeah, it's great to mow your lawn, and yeah, it's great to spend time with your family. But the other side of that, if this thing doesn't go away soon, and if it's coming back, you better plan for your future.
Those are great words of wisdom, and that's leadership, right? Like, you have to empower people.
Empower yourself.
Empower yourself and
Yeah.
empower the people around you to do what they can for themselves.
Takes
And
a
that
lot
is
of courage.
leadership.
It does.
Ton of courage. And that is the other definition of leadership. It's you're being called upon to lead not during the easy times. That's when it's really easy to be a leader. This is the time when it is going to weed out those who actually can lead with courage and those who cannot.
That's the beautiful thing about America. And you know, an object in motion tends to stay in motion. An object at rest tends to stay at rest. So do you want to be at rest right now, or do you want to be in motion, right? And the human instinct and the American spirit is just a beautiful and frankly powerful thing. You know, if we can come together in whatever community we're in and make a little difference and put a smile on somebody's face, provide them something with tangible that they can use, right? I think that's a little bit what we're talking about here.
It was Maya Angelou who said, people will never forget, or people might forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And so all of us are resonating this. We understand that as leaders in our community, how we make our communities feel right now is of great relevance, because people are feeling really vulnerable, scared, anxious, worried. And so what do we carry forward? And it doesn't mean you're not authentic, to your point, Anthony. I mean, the reality is all three of us have vulnerabilities in the businesses that we own right now. And we're not being negligent of acknowledging those. We have to say that's a real part of our lives too. But we can stay stuck in that place, or we can say, we see it's there, we recognize it's there, and so what can we do in spite of this to keep moving forward? And I think that's what leading with courage really entails. And you know, here we are sitting in the beautiful Self Esteem Brand Headquarters, and they've been impacted as deeply as the three of us.
Absolutely.
You know, my business partner Chuck, and he's having to do all the same things we are, reinventing how you do business moving forward on all 7 continents. But he can, you know, choose to stay stuck in this place of, this is really scary, this is a lot of unknown, this is uncharted territory. You can acknowledge those things, and then you can say, all right, so what am I going to do with that? And move forward.
It's funny how it takes you almost all the way back to the first time you turn the key in the door of your business, and the struggles that it took to get there, how you can reapply that point and into the future, right? Because you have to get down to basics. You know, and create a strategy that's going to work long term.
And I'm sure both of you have, or my hunch is both of you have experienced this, but Jamie and I, as we've been working together a lot these last couple of months and relying on each other a lot these last couple of months, I've learned a lot about myself and the mission even that I want to carry forward in the Point Retreats, and things that were always there that maybe just kind of jumped out at me during this time, because I had more time to self-reflect. I had more time to think of, you know, business plans and the future of the business. And a couple of things that have become really pronounced to me is, I'm sure both of you are hearing a lot of commotion, a lot of opinions, a lot of energy from different sides of all of this. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on how you're coping with, you know, so many different point of views as they come into your space. But for me, I've really been able to realize that for me, I think it's healthy to have a lot of different point of views. I've never been someone who says I need to be with those who are most like me and think like me. I actually have grown a deeper appreciation for those that think different than myself during this time. And it doesn't mean that I'm going to change my opinion, but it means that I want to hear what others are saying in this time now more than ever, because I don't think any of us have the answers to this. I don't know that any of us will have the answers for years to come. There's value in learning from each other. I read this quote the other day and I was like, yep, that's what the point is all about. And it is, as a nurse, you are tough enough to understand everything and you are soft enough to understand everyone. And that is really how I want the point to feel for people when they walk in the doors. It's the brand I want to create. It's what I want to be part of building in our immediate community and within the culture of our state, country, and outside of that. I am grateful for this time because it's reconnected me back to a lot of my nursing roots by going back to the front lines. And I've always stayed in touch with my healthcare colleagues there, but it's given me a deeper appreciation for them. But it's made me also go, that is the foundation of how I still want to have us serve at the Point Retreats. Mm-hmm. So I'm grateful for this time. I am actually grateful for the opinions coming from all different angles, because that's how I feel like as leaders, we're going to sift through some stuff maybe we've needed to sift through for a little while and put ourselves in a place to continue to lead.
Well, and to actually have results and actually do something that's actionable and impactful, like you envisioned, we can come together with different viewpoints, right? You and I don't have the same viewpoint on everything.
Yeah.
We've talked about some of these things, and Anthony, I suspect there's some differences in our viewpoints as well. But we do have an alignment on this cause, right? We are like-minded in many regards, and through that coming together, we've demonstrated that we can achieve some things that are helpful amidst all this chaos.
I think brand, as I look at brand, that has a tendency to be a sifter for likenesses and people being unlike each other, right? In order to relate to an individual who is consuming a brand, the Point or the Current or Swirl or Heine's, right? You automatically run into people who are like-minded. But of course, there's going to be textures and nuances within their personalities that are unsimilar, and that's the neat part of it, right? That's what creates the banter. That's what creates the culture. I think it's unfortunate that we don't have leadership at a national level right now that's allowing us to feel comfortable at being different. Instead of expressing discourse and dislike, which it is, we should be talking about how we're going to help each other get through this thing. And that's where the guidance for me has broken down. That's where I say I'm going to think locally and not globally right now. I'm just going to try to take care of my society, my culture, because that's all I can do.
Right.
And I don't have the mind capacity right now to tackle. I think I told you that, Dave, when I talked on the phone. It's like, look, I'm not looking to make a bunch of money making masks. I prefer not to make masks.
Yeah.
But all I want to do is react to my culture, my subculture, my society, my street level consumer, and take the small little steps to make them feel happy and good and comfortable, right? Because I don't have the room in my brain to absorb any more than that right now, to try to make it any bigger than what it is.
Yeah.
You know. So.
And you do, I think all of us to, survive and thrive through this time, there's those moments where you have to listen and sit quietly and learn, and then there's those moments you do have to shut down and focus on here's what I can do with the space I'm in to keep moving forward. And we can't solve, no one person can solve any of